Let's try this again after the millionth time. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. So as you guys can tell the title, this is gonna be my labor and delivery story. So we did post our labor and delivery vlog. If you guys haven't seen that, I'll put a link to it down below. But that video is a vlog on the day that I gave birth to our beautiful baby boy, Kayvon. He is 3 weeks old now. He's actually gonna be 4 weeks on Friday. What day is it today? I mean, with this whole quarantine shit, like, I don't even know what day today is. Tuesday. So today is Tuesday. He's gonna be a month old on Friday, which is crazy. I can't believe it's been a month since I've given birth. Like, time is just flying by. I might show you guys him at the end of this video, but he's downstairs with grandma right now while I'm filming this video. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, I really wanted to show you guys the baby, but it's super late at night, so he's sleeping. So I'll just show you guys him in his bassinet. My baby is sleeping. He's so cute. A little angel baby. This video is taking a lot longer than I expected because literally my mind is all over the place. I tried filming this video 2 other times already and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's this topic. I don't know if my memory is just fuzzy on this day, but it was just really difficult for me to film. Like, I was all over the place. I was like, this is gonna be such a pain in the ass to edit. So I just need to turn off the camera, take a breather, and start over. Anyways, guys, this is gonna be just a video surrounding the details on my labor and delivery. And even though we did post that vlog on the day, like, I really wanted to sit down and talk about the weeks leading up to the end of my pregnancy because I was watching a ton of videos like this at the end of my pregnancy. You know, watching labor and delivery vlogs are really fun when you're watching the actual birth, but I also love watching labor and delivery stories in this format where people are just like sitting down and sharing their experience and stuff like that. So again, if you guys are approaching the last few weeks of your pregnancy, I completely understand how you feel. I was in your shoes not too long ago. I just remember just being so anxious, like not a bad anxious, like a good anxious. And I just remember as the due date approaches, like that due date, oh my gosh, that date is just like ingrained in your mind. Every morning you're waking up like, am I giving birth today? Every night you're going to sleep like, am I giving birth? Am I gonna wake up in the middle of the night with my water breaking? I swear every single night I would wake up in the morning and I would just like look down right away like, did my water break? You know, I was just so excited for it to happen. And especially because like people give birth at so many different times. Like some people give birth at 36 weeks, some people give birth at 42 weeks. It's just such a wide range. You know, the due date, a lot of women don't actually give birth on their due date. So I remember just few weeks leading up to it, I was just so nervous for the day to come, especially because this was my first baby. I've never had a baby before, so I didn't even know what to look out for. Every little pain I would get, I'm like, so was that a contraction? Is this a contraction? Am I having the baby tomorrow? I was just so all over the place. I can honestly say that was probably the most wave of emotions I've ever felt my whole life, was approaching the last few weeks of my pregnancy. So if you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below and turn on your post notifications so you never miss out. And also be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. It'll really help us out. And let's get into my labor and delivery story. So my original due date was March 15th. And it's just so crazy because I remember when I found out I was pregnant, they told me the day March 15th. I remember thinking that is so far away. Like that day is never gonna come. And lo and behold, here we are. He's already a month old. And let's start this story time at 34 weeks. So at 34 weeks, we went to an ultrasound and we actually vlogged that ultrasound. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll put a link to it down below. But that ultrasound, the video is called Unexpected News at Our Ultrasound. So in that video, it turns out the doctor told us that our baby was a big baby. Now, I always assumed I was gonna have a big baby just because I was a big baby and Mel was a big baby. I was 8.5 pounds when I was born, and Mel's is just crazy. He was supposed to be 12 pounds at birth, so his mom got induced at 37 weeks, I believe, and even then he was still 9 pounds. Like, he came that early and he was still 9 pounds. So I always knew in my head I was gonna have a big baby. He told me I was measuring at 38 weeks when I was only 34 weeks. So when I was told this, I was shook. I was like, yo, I'm about to have a baby the size of a linebacker. Literally, the doctor was like, you have a linebacker in there. He's gonna come out holding a beer in his hand. So I was like, yo, I have such a big baby. Like, I'm so scared. Again, pray for my vagina. He's like, no, it doesn't really mean that, but it does indicate that you might have to get induced. He's like, I'm definitely gonna recommend it to your doctor. So the guy who was doing my ultrasound was not my OBGYN that I was seeing every week. This was a whole nother doctor. I remember asking him in the video, I'm like, I hear inductions hurt more. Is that true? He's like, no, not at all. And he said that in the video, and I swear so many people in my comments were like, girl, don't listen to that doctor. He's lying to you. Getting induced hurts. So when I saw that, I was like, like, I'm already so nervous for the experience. I'm already so scared for this day to come. And then my comment section, like, imagine you're already anxious about something and then in my comment section, it was just so many different opinions. People telling me to get induced, people telling me not to get induced, people telling me that they got induced and they hated it, they regretted it. Then I also had people who said, I got induced, it wasn't that bad, like don't worry about it. I went to Dr. Google, because that's what you do when you're anxious and nervous about something, and I was reading so many articles about getting induced, so many articles about not getting induced, like so many articles about having a big baby. Like I'm telling you guys, the last few weeks of my pregnancy, like I don't think I've ever felt this type of anxiety in my life. And I remember crying to my mom. Like I cried to her like twice, like, Mom, I'm so over being pregnant. Like I'm so tired. Yeah, approaching the last few weeks of my pregnancy, I was just so over being pregnant. But as someone who just had my baby, I'm telling you, everybody says this to you, but in the moment you're like, bitch, I just want to have my baby. Like I don't care. Definitely just soak in the last few weeks of being pregnant, because you know, you might not get pregnant again after this. You know, this might be your only baby and you might not go through pregnancy again. So definitely just enjoy the experience. I definitely wish I would just enjoy it more. Like I definitely miss being pregnant so much. I've said that so many times. So again, at my 34 weeks, that's what I was told. Then I go see my doctor for my 35-week checkup. So at the last weeks of my pregnancy, I was seeing my OB/GYN once a week. So at that appointment, she's like, so I hear you have a big baby in there. I'm like, yeah, you know, they told me it was a big baby. I was like, they were saying that I might get induced. Definitely the longer you wait, the more your chances of getting a C-section are going to increase. So, you know, when she told me that, I definitely wanted to have a vaginal birth. That's just something I always had in my plan. But let me tell you, birth plans, like just throw it out the window. Birth plans don't do anything, because like birth is just so unexpected. So I was told that if my baby was 11 pounds, no matter what, it would be an automatic C-section. Like they weren't even gonna try to let me do a vaginal birth. So again, I was being told that my baby might be 10, 11 pounds at the time of full term. At my ultrasound, I remember just being terrified. I'm like, I don't feel like my baby is that big, because I was looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, my bump isn't like that big, you know? But, you know, being told that my baby might be 10, 11 pounds, like it was just making me so freaking anxious. And that date rolling around was just, that's when I started to feel anxious about giving birth. Like I wasn't nervous about it at all until I was told that I need to get induced. Then that's when I started to feel so stressed out. Before that day was put into my head of March 9th, they wanted to induce me at 39 weeks. So when they told me that day of March 9th, they want to induce me, just all the days leading up to it, I would just get more and more anxious every day. I'd wake up every morning like, am I going to go into labor today? Am I going to go into labor later today? You know, it just wasn't the experience that I wanted. That's when she started, you know, saying like 39 weeks, we might need to induce you. Like she wasn't even like that. She's like, I highly recommend you get induced. So what I did not like about it was that there wasn't a conversation. And it's nothing towards my doctor at all, because she's a really great doctor. Like Mal and I love her, and I definitely want to still keep going to her, you know, in the future. But I just didn't like, maybe she was just busy and didn't have time to sit and talk with me. Like, I don't know. I just didn't like that. I guess I just didn't like that my hand wasn't being held. You know, like I definitely like bedside manner. That's something I look for in a doctor. And I definitely wish, maybe she just didn't see getting induced as such a big deal as I was seeing it. But you know, my hand wasn't being held. I wasn't given more facts, more information, and I just felt very in the dark with the decision. You know, like I was very scared, and I was just, the only information I had on getting induced was my comment section, which isn't really the best, you know what I mean? So that was on my 35-week appointment. 36 weeks rolls around. Then 37 weeks, she starts checking to see if I'm dilated. So I remember on my way to that doctor's appointment, I was crossing my fingers. I was like, please, please, please be dilated. Please be dilated. And I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you that being dilated means nothing. Literally. So there's women who go and they're dilated at like 2 centimeters and they don't have their baby for another few weeks after that. Then there's women who go and they're 0 centimeters dilated and then they go into labor like 2 days later. You know, it's just all over the place. By the way, if you don't know how they check your cervix, I remember when I would watch these videos before I got pregnant, people would be like, I was 2 centimeters dilated. It never really occurred to me how exactly they check how you're dilated. So the way that they check is just good old fashioned. They stick their fingers up there and they check. 37 weeks, she checks me. I am 1.5 centimeters dilated. I remember like when she said that, Mel and I were like, oh, baby's gonna be here so soon. We were so excited. I was like, yo, baby's about to come. I need to fly out my mama right away. Mind you, by 36 weeks, Mel and I finished all of our responsibilities. We finished any content that we had due. We got anything around the house that needed to be done. We got that finished. I had my hospital bag packed. Like we were ready at 36 weeks. Cause in my head, I was like, I'm not going past 38 weeks. I'm having this baby at 38 weeks or ahead. I don't know why I thought this. Definitely don't think that, because you're just gonna put yourself in so much stress and you're just gonna stress yourself out for no reason. So I remember just saying in my head, I'm gonna have this baby by 38 weeks. I also was looking at my, you know, mutual friends, like Shelby had her baby at 38 weeks. Brianna had her baby at 38 weeks too. So I'm like, I don't know why I was like, well, they had their baby at 38 weeks. I'm gonna have my baby at 38 weeks too. So that's another tip. Don't compare your pregnancy to anybody else. Like, please just don't do it, because again, you're gonna be stressing yourself out just like I was stressing myself out. When you're dilated, that means your body has already started labor, but it was crazy because I didn't feel any Braxton Hicks. I swear I did not feel any Braxton Hicks my whole pregnancy, which is like practice fake contractions. I didn't have any of that. I really did not have any pains until the day I went into labor. So because I was dilated, my doctor was able to give me a membrane sweep. Now, if you don't know what a membrane sweep is, it definitely is the most natural way to start inducing your labor. My doctor went ahead and sweeped my membrane without even giving me a heads up. Like when she checked and saw I was dilated, she was like, boop, boop. Like she just went ahead and swept my membrane. I remember I was just confused because I started to feel pain. I was like, ow, ow, ow. I started to feel like I had a period cramp. So when she finished, I was like, did you just give me a membrane sweep? She's like, yeah, I did. I was like, okay, well, thanks for the heads up. I think she knows it's because I'm squeamish. I'm very squeamish when it comes to anything that happens down there. I think because she knows I'm squeamish, I feel like if she would have told me she was going to sweep my membrane, I would have been like freaking out and like, you know, hyperventilating. So I feel like that's why she didn't tell me. I remember Googling, you know, stuff about that, and I came across a ton of mommy forums, and I know if you're at your last few weeks of pregnancy, you're probably been on so many mommy forums too, but a lot of them were like, I got my membrane sweeped and I went into labor the next day. I got my membrane sweeped and I went into labor that night. So I remember thinking like, yo, this might happen like tonight or the night before. I was only 37 weeks. Like I was crazy. I said this might happen tomorrow. And when I got home from the doctor's appointment, when I went to go use the bathroom, I started losing my mucus plug. And that's another sign that labor is approaching. When I saw like little pieces of my mucus plug like falling out, I was like, I'm about to have this baby so soon. Like I need to fly out my mom ASAP. I remember texting Mel like, babe, like I think this is about to happen soon. I was getting him so excited. I was getting myself so excited. I remember I was like, I need to fly out my mom ASAP. So I did fly out my mom by 37 weeks because I thought, again, 38 weeks, because my friends had babies at 38 weeks. I thought I was gonna have a baby at 38 weeks too. So at this point, by the time my mom got here, I started doing everything possible to start inducing my labor. So even my doctor told me at 37 weeks, she gave me the green light to do any of those old wives' tales, like any of those little home remedies. I started Googling the shit out of how to induce my labor. I was asking you guys on my Instagram, how'd you guys induce your labor? You guys were giving me so many different things to do, and I swear I did everything. I did all of it. I ate so much pineapple. I was going on like 5-mile walks. Well, not 5 miles, like 3-mile walks every single day. I was doing squats. I was doing this video on YouTube called Activating Labor. I was doing that workout like every single night. The one thing I did not do was nipple stimulation, and now that I had the baby and I started breastfeeding, I definitely see how nipple stimulation works. I did a ton of workouts. Oh, sex. I was having a ton of sex, like literally, like Mel and I were TMI, but Mel and I were doing it like every single night. And that is because sperm is known to have prostaglandin or whatever. Definitely, I'm not no doctor, so just Google this stuff. One thing my doctor recommended I do was to have sex. Like she doesn't believe in any of the other stuff. When I told her, I was telling her like all the different things I was doing to try to induce my labor at my appointments. I was like, I've been drinking red raspberry leaf tea every night. I've been going on walks. And she's like, whatever keeps you busy. Like my doctor is so nonchalant, and that is why Mel and I love her so much, is because she's so funny. But she's like, whatever just keeps you busy, go ahead and do it. I was like, sorry, you telling me this doesn't work? So rolling around to 38 weeks, crossing my fingers on the way to the doctor's appointment that I'm more dilated. Again, as I mentioned previously, being dilated really doesn't mean anything. So she checks me, I'm still 1.5 centimeters dilated. And I remember she told me that, like Mel and I were just so disappointed. I felt so defeated. And I just like wanted to cry. Like I did cry multiple times because I was just so over being pregnant. I just wanted to have this baby. I was so ready to meet him. I was so ready to be a mom. So also on my 38-week appointment, my doctor recommends that we schedule my induction with the hospital because, you know, I was already getting pushed with the idea to get induced by 39 weeks, you know, from weeks ahead. And at 38 weeks, she's like, we need to schedule your induction. And again, I didn't like that there was no conversations about it. She didn't really weigh out the pros and cons for me. And there's definitely pros and cons to getting induced versus waiting and let your body to naturally go into labor. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I didn't go to medical school for 10+ years. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about it because this is not my specialty. This is not something that I'm educated in. So I don't feel like that it's right for me to sit here and tell you guys what you should and shouldn't do with your body. I remember my doctor said that. I just felt like a weight went on my chest. Like I just felt like my heart just felt so heavy because I just didn't want to do it. I did not want to get induced. Yeah, I just did not want to do it, but I didn't speak up because obviously it's scary going against your doctor's recommendation. And I just didn't want to talk about it because Mel was kind of on the side of the doctor. He's like, obviously, like your doctor went to school for this. She's been doing this for years. Like we need to listen to her. And I 100% agreed with him. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like she is the medical professional. We do need to listen to her. But at the same time, I just wish I was given more information. So I was told that I was going to get a phone call from the hospital. So a few days later, I got a phone call from the hospital and they're like, so your induction is scheduled for March 9th, which was Sunday. I would be exactly 39 weeks at 2 a.m., which is such a weird time. And I remember I got that phone call, I just was not happy. Just instantly my mood, like I was in such a good mood before that phone call. And when I got that phone call, I just felt, it didn't feel right. I accepted the appointment at that time and I was like, okay, I have a week. I have 1 week. I was 38 weeks. I was like, I have 1 week to get this baby out on my own. And again, I was doing everything. I even went to this one restaurant here in LA that's known to have this labor salad. It's a salad that's supposed to put you into labor. And if it does put you into labor, they have a whole board on the wall and you can write your child's name on the wall if it actually happens. Did not happen for me, but I even like ate that salad. I did everything and I was like, I have 1 week. Like I swear I felt like I was in a competition with myself. Also another thing my doctor recommended to me was this midwife who does acupuncture. So apparently there's like pressure points in your body that can help induce your labor. So my doctor actually recommended me to go see her a few weeks prior. So I had her business card, but I was just like, acupuncture is a bunch of mumbo jumbo, you know, like I'm just that type of person. I was like, I'm not gonna waste my money getting acupuncture. But again, I was so desperate at this point, took out her business card, hit up this midwife, and I was like, I need you to help me get this baby out. So I went to go see her. I went to go see her a total of 3 times in the span of 1 week. And I really, really loved this midwife. She was just so welcoming. She was very holistic, she just made me feel a lot better. I remember I went to go see her on Friday. And, you know, doctor's offices are closed on the weekend. So I remember I went to go see her on Friday and I told her I'm scheduled to get induced at 39 weeks, which is Sunday. So that was 2 days away. And she's like, why are you getting induced? And I was like, well, I'm being told that I have a big baby and that they highly recommend I get induced or I might need to get a C-section. And she looks at me and she goes, you know, I can tell your baby is like 8 pounds, 8.5 pounds. And she was right. My baby was 8 pounds. She's like, I'm not your doctor. I can't tell you what to do and I don't want to be responsible if anything happens. But what I can tell you is that your baby is not going to gain 2 pounds over the span of a week. So I was a week away from being 40 weeks, which is full term, you know, technically. So she's like, that's what I'm gonna say. So I knew just by the way she said it and, you know, by her saying that, I'm like, she doesn't think I should get induced. After she told me that, I really felt like me going to see her was a sign from the universe. Like I'm just that person. Like when she told me that, I'm like, this is the sign I needed. So again, it was Friday. So my doctor's office was closed on the weekends. Obviously you can still contact your doctor, but that would take me to an emergency line. And I just like didn't want to bother her on the weekends. I remember telling the midwife that. I'm like, I can't even call my doctor to tell her I want to cancel this induction. And she's like, just call the hospital and tell them you don't want to come if you don't want to. I was like, I can do that? Okay, so I pondered that idea all night. And finally, I called the hospital. I called the labor and delivery unit and I was like, hi, I'm scheduled for an induction on Sunday. I decided I'm not gonna come. And literally, I kid you not, the lady on the phone verbatim said, so you're just not gonna show up? I was like she was acting like this was an RSVP to like a brunch. I called my doctor and I left her a voicemail because again, they were closed on the weekends. I left her a voicemail. I told her I decided that I'm gonna wait until 40 weeks and that I decided to cancel the induction. So then I get a call from her on Monday and she's like, oh, I see you canceled your induction. I was like, yeah, I didn't feel like it was right for me. I'm just gonna wait until 40 weeks. Like just give me until 40 weeks and then we can schedule an induction. And she goes, that's reasonable. That was literally her response. She goes, that's reasonable. I was like, tell me if I made the wrong choice. Like, tell me it's not too late for us to schedule another induction sooner. I don't know what the hell I just did. Like, everything was just such a blur. It was a blur, okay? So then 39 weeks and 1 day rolls around. 39 weeks and 2 days rolls around. At this point, I'm like Googling, what is the percentage of women who give birth at 39 weeks? What is the percentage of women who give birth at 40 weeks? Like, I was just... Dr. Google was my best friend. I was Googling something every hour. Then 39 weeks and 4 days roll around, which was a Friday. So I remember just being so done with being pregnant. Like I thought I was having the baby like 2 weeks ago. And like I mentioned earlier, Mel and I got all of our responsibility done by 36 weeks. So we were just bored at this point. Like, it's literally so crazy because the day I actually went into labor, I posted on Instagram, which I'll put on the screen right here. I literally posted a picture on Instagram with this whole long caption about how I'm so done with being pregnant. I said no to getting induced. I don't know if I regret it or not because I would have had my baby in my arms at this point if I would have said yes to getting induced. So I remember I was just like upstairs in the room just cleaning because again, I had nothing to do. I was like cleaning. I was cleaning shit that was already clean because I was just so bored at this point. And I remember that was at 12. I posted the Instagram picture with the caption. Then like 3 o'clock rolls around and I start feeling little bits of pain. It's just hard at the last few weeks of pregnancy because you're looking at any sign of pain. You're like, oh, I'm going into labor soon. I'm going to like, you know, have the baby soon. But you're just in pain just from being pregnant, you know? Like you're carrying around this heavy weight. Like you're just so tired and achy towards the end of the pregnancy that I'm like, is this contractions or am I just like tired of being pregnant? Like it's just so hard because you don't know what feeling you're looking out for. So I start bouncing on my ball. I remember FaceTiming Mel, but again, I didn't want to get Mel's hopes up because I feel like I got his hopes up so many times over the span of the past few weeks that I was like, I really don't want to get his hopes up unless it's actually about to happen. I remember I'm folding laundry and I'm going into the closet. I remember just falling to the floor in my closet because I get this contraction pain that hurts so bad that I had to fall to the floor. And Mel comes upstairs to tell me, this is right at the beginning of the whole coronavirus shit going on. And Mel comes up to tell me like we should go grocery shopping and stock up before, you know, things get out of hand. So he comes upstairs to tell me that. He's like trying to look for me. He goes in the closet and sees me on the floor. He's like, are you okay? I'm like, babe, I'm having some pains. Like, I'm definitely feeling crampy. And I remember Mel, I'm telling him like, I don't know if this is it, you know, I don't want to get too excited and for this to not actually be the real deal. And then we're getting our hopes up and we go to the hospital, we get sent home. Like, I don't want to get too excited. And I remember Mel, when Mel gets stressed out, like he just goes completely silent. And I remember Mel, we had our hospital stuff just packed for the longest time, like in our room, like our suitcases and stuff. Mel just calmly comes. He grabs everything for the hospital, like my hospital bag, his hospital bag, and just starts loading up the car. At this point, it is 5 o'clock, so I've been contracting for 2 hours now. I just remember the bottom half of my stomach feeling really tight. It definitely does feel like a period cramp, but like super intense. None of us had any food that day, so me, my mom, and Mel, we were just starving at that point. So I tell Mel, I'm like, go pick us up some In-N-Out. Goes to In-N-Out, and at that point, that is when I start vlogging. So if you guys have seen our labor and delivery vlog, you guys see I'm in the room with my mom. That is at that point. That is when shit starts to get more intense. I remember my contractions getting so bad, I had my mom timing them on this app. Contractions are the weirdest thing in the world because when you're having your contraction, you're in the worst pain of life. And then once the wave goes, you're completely fine. So that's why if you guys watch that video, I'm like on the floor, like screaming. And then the next clip, I'm like, hey guys, so Mel just got us In-N-Out. That is how it is. Like you're literally just in the worst pain for like a minute. And then once it's over, you're just like normal. It's really important that you get some food in you before you go to the hospital because once you're admitted in the hospital, you can't eat anymore. It's about 6 p.m. at this point, and Mel and I, our whole plan before I went to labor, we definitely did not want to go to the hospital too early. I definitely didn't want to be one of those people that were in the hospital for like 40 plus hours. Like I just did not want that to be me. I wanted to labor at home as much as possible. I remember Mel and I always saying like the hospital that I was giving birth at is right next to the Beverly Center, which is a big mall here in LA. So I remember us always saying like, we'll just go walk around that mall until I really feel like it's time to go to the hospital. So that's why Mel in the video was like, I think we're gonna go walk around the mall a little bit and then go to the hospital. And I interrupted him. I'm like, no, scratch that, we are going to the hospital. So the hospital was a 40-minute drive from me, and I just remember getting the worst contractions, the worst contractions in the car. And I was in so much pain. I remember just getting out of the car like, ow, ow. Like I was literally like in so much pain. And the like security guard at the door like gets a wheelchair out for me. And sitting in the wheelchair, honestly, I wish I did not sit in the wheelchair. Like I wish I just would have walked up because sitting just made the pain so much worse. Like I had to keep moving. So if you guys saw my labor and delivery vlog, you guys saw I was constantly like rocking back and forth. I was constantly moving because when I would stand still, the pain would just intensify. And you know, Mel would keep on telling me like, breathe. The nurses would tell me like, breathe through the pain, breathe through the pain. I'm like, the last thing on my mind right now is breathing. Like I just need the epidural. Like I remember when they finally, my mom rolled me up to the labor and delivery unit. I get up and I'm like, I need the epidural. I need the epidural. Like this is what I'm saying to like the front desk lady. And I feel like they're used to it because they were not phased at all. Like by the way I was acting, they were just like typing me up real quick. I was already in the system. Thank God. You know, I already registered myself in the system of the hospital. hospital like way earlier in my pregnancy. One of the nurses asked me a bunch of questions, typing in stuff to the computer. The other nurse is like trying to strap me down and check to see how dilated I am. So the nurse puts her fingers up there and she goes, "You are at 5 centimeters." When she said that, I was like, what? 5 centimeters? Like, that was just crazy. I progressed a lot in my labor at home. I'm dilated enough to be admitted in the hospital. Quickly, they moved me into the room I was delivering in. And I remember having to, like, I had to get up and walk to that room. And I just remember being in so much pain. I was like, ow, ow. Like, I was just like screaming at this point. I get into the room, and that is the room you guys see in the labor and delivery vlog. And I remember just being like, wow, this room is beautiful. Mel and I went on a maternity tour in that hospital a few weeks prior, and they did not show us this like big room with all the windows. Like, it was a lot smaller of a room, and I see why they do that, because if they show you like this like big beautiful room, you're gonna expect that, and if you don't get it, you're like, oh shit, like I got this dingy ass room, you know what I mean? This room was just so beautiful. Like, we had all those windows, and it was raining, so it was just like super relaxing. Mel ordered me a bunch of these LED candles off of Amazon, and he started setting up. He had this like playlist ready for me. When they put me in the position to get the epidural, I had to sit in this position and while they got everything ready, and that alone took like 15 minutes. So definitely order your epidural as soon as possible, because it takes a second for them to set up, and also takes a second for them to get up to your room. I remember that poor nurse, I remember like screaming to her like, "Is the anesthesiologist coming?" Like, I remember I just kept on asking her. She would always be on the phone like calling like, "Hey, how far are you? Like, are you coming?" Like, the nurse definitely wanted to help me out as much as possible. She definitely felt bad for me. So she was calling the anesthesiologist like, "You need to hurry up. She's in a lot of pain. She's really distressed. Like, you need to come." So finally the anesthesiologist came. So actually there was one woman ahead of me. So I remember looking at the computer that the nurse was on, and they had all the women in labor, like, and how dilated we were. And the woman who was next in line to get the epidural was only 1.5 centimeters dilated. So I think I overhear the nurse calling and asking if that that other woman can kind of hold off on a little bit so I can go first. And she said yes. She let me go first, which was such a blessing. So that is when I got my epidural. That beautiful epidural. I remember I got the shot, and like a few minutes go by and I'm still in pain. I'm telling the nurse like, "I still feel pain, I still feel pain." She's like, "Give it a second, it will kick in." Finally, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, I was on cloud 9. Like, I was feeling good. I was relaxing. Like, I was breathing. I brushed my hair. I put on a little bit of makeup. I like, you know, put on some mascara. Mel had the jazz playlist playing for me. I was feeling so much better. The nurse came and checked me at 10:30. I was 7.5 centimeters dilated. So that is when they decided to break my water. So that was super easy. She just did it with her finger in like 2 seconds. But then at midnight, I started to feel pressure. Like something heavy was like weighing on my, you know, it was like weighing down there. So I remember calling the nurse, and that's when she checked me again. And at that point, I was already at 9 centimeters, which is crazy because a lot of people, their first baby, their labor is a lot slower. I remember my doctor like preparing me. She's like, the first baby always takes the longest. You might be at the hospital for a while. And Mel and I thought we were gonna like have so much more time in the hospital room, so we brought like stuff to keep us entertained that we didn't even need. I remember I probably would have been ready to start pushing probably at like 2, 3 in the morning, but I decided to take a nap. I was exhausted. Again, it was midnight at this point, so I took a nap all the way from like 12 to like 3 p.m. So then that is when I called the nurse, and again, I'm like, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. So that was just such a beautiful nap. I remember that nap felt so good. So I'm so happy I took the nap, because if I didn't take the nap, I don't think I would have had enough energy to give birth. And that's when I called the nurse to come check me, and I was 10 centimeters. So that is when they called my doctor to come. So at 3 a.m. is when they called my doctor to pull up, and she was taking her sweet time. She took forever to get there, honestly. But you know, 4 a.m. rolls around, my doctor still isn't there. I'm like, yo, what is taking her so long? Like, I was getting so antsy. I'd ask all the time. I'm like, is my doctor here yet? Is my doctor here yet? Finally, she pulls up around 4 a.m. So an hour later, she finally comes, and you know, she's prepping. She's getting her little like gown on, her mask on, everything like that. While my doctor is getting ready for the delivery, that is when the nurse comes and she helps me with practice pushes. So she's showing me how to breathe, how to do the pushes, when to do the pushes, and that's all in the labor and delivery vlog if you guys haven't seen that. When you have a contraction, that is when you push. So I don't really feel the contraction hard because again, I have the epidural, but I just feel this pressure like I need to like basically shit myself. So I remember the doctor telling me like, you know, this is your first baby, it might be here a while, it might take an hour, it might take an hour and a half, we're gonna take it slow. And she tells me that the baby, I can't remember specifically, she either tells me the baby is facing, like his head is facing this way or this way. All I know is she's saying that his head needs to twist in the opposite direction for him to come out. So I'm like, how am I gonna do that? She's like, just by pushing, that's why it's gonna take a little bit longer, is because he needs to twist as he's pushing. And you know, whenever I watch these labor and delivery vlogs, even women who got epidurals, I hear them like grunting, like, ugh! Like, you know, like stuff like that. I remember thinking, I'm like, wait, so you can feel pain when you have the epidural? Like, I'm so confused. And I was grunting just like that, and then it hit me. I realized that the grunting is from holding your breath and having to push so hard. It's not from being in pain. It's just from literally having to catch your breath. And lo and behold, you guys saw it in that labor and delivery vlog, I feel super nauseous. So even at the beginning when I started pushing, I was feeling nauseous. But as I was pushing, putting so much pressure like on my head and like my body, I was like, I need to throw up. And you guys can see that in the video. I tell my doctor I feel nauseous. And the nurse gets a bag ready for me to throw up in. And I'm like, I don't want to throw up. I remember thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to throw up. That's disgusting. Like, I hate throwing up. So I did not want to throw up. I did not want to throw up. And finally, I couldn't hold it anymore. And I threw up twice. And my doctor was like, this is good. Like, it's good that you threw up because this is going to help the pressure. Like, it's going to help the baby come out faster. So even me, I'm like so happy that I threw up, because I'm like, I just felt so much better. Like, my mind felt a lot clearer, my body felt a lot stronger. So I was so happy that I threw up. So if you have the sensation to throw up, definitely do it. You know, you always hear about women having to poop themselves during birth. You never hear about women having to throw up during birth. So I was one of those people who had to throw up during birth. I did not poop, but I did throw up. You know, I can't really feel what's going on, and the nurse tells me, you want to reach down and feel his head? And I'm thinking, what? And I reached down and I feel this like slimy, hairy thing, and I'm like, oh, like that really just made that shit so real to me. And because I couldn't feel it, I was just judging off of like the nurses' expressions and Mel's expressions, and I could see by their faces like how I was doing. So the nurse would be like, the doctor would be like, excellent, things are happening, like it's coming, it's coming. So I remember that was just making me, that was giving me a lot of motivation with other people telling me, you know, the head is coming out, like it's coming out, it's coming out. Also, as I was giving birth, I did not know this because again, I can't feel anything, but Mel was telling me that the doctor was lubing up her finger, and she was like doing this around the head of the baby, like to kind of stretch my vagina out more for the baby, which is like so weird to even think about. Like just hearing that like gave me the heebie-jeebies. But she was doing that for me, and finally she tells me, I think the next push he's gonna be out. Like she's like, I need you to put your all into these last pushes because I think he's gonna be out. So that is when I push like no other. I push, and then if you guys saw in that video, the doctor's phone goes off. And in the moment, I remember being so upset that the phone rang, but now looking back on it, I'm so happy that the phone rang, because like you guys can hear me in the video, I go, who the fuck is calling? I didn't know it was the doctor's phone. I remember being upset in the moment because it took my focus off. Like hearing the phone ring, like I wasn't expecting it. So I was so in the zone pushing that when I heard it, it just threw me off guard, which made me angry. But now looking back on it, like how beautiful was that Kayvon was born to this like music playing, you know, especially because the doctor's ringtone wasn't some annoying iPhone ringtone. Like it was a really beautiful ringtone. So I'm like, what are the odds that he popped out with this magical ringtone playing at 5:55, an angel number? Like it was just everything about this birth. Like it was just so beautiful outside. The sun was rising. It was raining too at the same time. We had this beautiful view. So I popped little Nazanin Kavari Wade out. They put him on my chest, and I remember just, I cannot explain how I felt in the moment. I don't think any woman who has given birth can explain how you feel when the baby is born. It is just such a surreal feeling. It definitely is an out-of-body experience. It's something that I don't even know, man. Like it's just wild. It's so beautiful. It really is beautiful. I remember, you know, being so scared to give birth. When people tell me it's like such a beautiful experience and all that stuff, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like I'm gonna be screaming my head off in all this pain. But no, it's like I viewed my body in such a different way. I viewed myself as a freaking warrior. Even though I got an epidural, I don't think that makes me any less of a woman, like any less of a badass for giving birth. You know, childbirth is difficult. It's not an easy thing, and I'm proud of myself. I definitely just view myself in such a different light. I'm so proud of my body, and I used to be so hard on myself. Like I've always struggled with body image issues growing up. Like this body literally produced a human. Like no one can tell me shit, you know what I mean? So that is it for the labor and delivery story. Then after that, they wheeled me over after a few hours to the postpartum unit, and that's when the vlog continued with our bringing our newborn home video. If you guys haven't seen that, link it down below like always. But that is when we moved on to postpartum, and I just got to enjoy my little babies. So that is it for today's video. If any of you guys are at your last few weeks of pregnancy, definitely hang in there and enjoy it while it lasts. I definitely miss it a lot. So I wish you all luck with giving birth, especially with this whole coronavirus shit. Like, my baby was born right before things got really bad, but I was only allowed to have one person in the room. In my hospital, they allow as many people as you want usually. And I wasn't expecting that when I got to the hospital. They were like, because my mom was getting ready to come in with Mel and I into the room, and they were like, sorry, only one person. And I remember when they said that, like, my heart just shattered into a million pieces. I was like, no way. Like, my whole life, I pictured my mom being there, I pictured my sister being there, and I remember just being so upset about it. But I definitely don't want to complain, because I know now people are struggling with the fact that they can't even have their husband with them or their partner with them in the room, and I can't even imagine that. But anyways, guys, I've been talking for so long. I need a drink. Like, my throat is so dry. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys for our next video. Bye, guys.